Hi, everybody. Today we are answering the caregiver's question, is negative thinking and worry an addictive behavior? If you're a caregiver, we all know that you have a lot to do on your to-do list. That includes taking care of yourself and your family. And there's a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns that really might have you frustrated and anxious and worried and thinking negative thoughts. So as a caregiver, how do you stay positive so that all this negative thinking and worry does not become something that you are focusing on every day and that you're not bringing more of this into your life? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. Please click on the links below to share this video and follow my YouTube channel. There are over 800 videos here answering questions caregivers ask. And on my website, there's a whole caregiver course, access to my Facebook online support group. It's called The Caregiving Trap. My podcast, articles in my blog, a lot of helpful information. So let's get back to the topic of negative thinking and worry. We have all been there. The question to ask is, do you mentally recognize when you've gone a little too far down that path of negativity and worry, and can you catch yourself? Can you stop yourself and say, oh, I'm feeling negative today, or I'm worried today. How do I turn this around? Especially if there was some event that caused that. Maybe you felt criticized by another person at work, or maybe your family members are trying to tell you what to do as the caregiver. And of course, they're not stepping in to provide any help. They just want to offer unsolicited advice about what you should do. So all of this stress and outside influence is making you feel very negative. There's a lot that happens in the lives of caregivers, but it's up to each of us to recognize when these events happen and make space in our brain up here to think about our reactions, why we're reacting the way that we do, why we're thinking about the situation the way that we are. And part of this is not allowing yourself to feel like you don't have any control over the situation, or like you're a victim, or people are always criticizing you. But to do that, you have to realize that you're thinking this way and that any thoughts that you have are valid, right? But the question is, why are you thinking that way? So part of not allowing negative thinking and worry to overcome your life, to just be there every moment of every day of every night, you wake up and it's the same old stuff over and over again, is to make the time to examine your thoughts and be honest about why you're thinking the way that you're thinking. Now, a lot of times these issues honestly come down to communication, a lack of information, you're thinking differently from somebody else. So think about a time maybe when you had a conversation that didn't go the way you wanted it to. And at the end, you realize that you and the other person weren't even on the same page. You were thinking about something over here and they were thinking about something over there, and you're trying to resolve this issue, but you're not even talking about the same thing because you have such different ideas about the topic. Okay. So this is where having background information, or what I call context, can be really helpful. Or if you consider that maybe you don't know everything about why another person is thinking the way they're thinking, and you start asking questions and say, I hear you say that. Can you help me understand what that means? Because that might mean something very different to me. And as a result, we're having this conversation, but we're really not communicating well, or we're not on the same page, or we're at opposite ends. And I don't want our conversation to be like that, right? So you have to go to that depth, because in today's world where honestly there is so much communication done by text messaging or emails, a lot of things are misunderstood or misconstrued. It's almost as if we don't have time anymore to sit down and have a conversation, or to pick up the phone and talk to somebody, right? Because caregivers are so rushed and so busy, especially if you're working full time and then all of your other time is devoted to caregiving activities, and you're rushing here and there and you're trying to make everybody happy, and you're putting yourself at the bottom of that list, which caregivers tend to do. So when you're that busy and you're just spiraling and running and running and running, there's often not enough time to think, let alone have a lengthy conversation with somebody, right? But if you want to resolve these feelings, that's exactly what has to happen. So it's important to be introspective. And so what does introspective mean? It's a big word, right? It means making time to think about your thoughts and your feelings and why you feel the way that you do and the meaning behind that. Because something that may happen to you honestly may remind you of something that happened in the workplace that was a negative, an interaction with somebody. Or maybe it reminds you of something that happened with your parents when you were a child. And every time this happens, that outside stuff that happened before comes back and you relive it, but you don't do anything different to change the situation. So what you're doing is you're reliving a negative and you're allowing that negative to continue to happen without doing anything to change it or speak up for yourself or advocate for yourself. And so with any behavior pattern, to change that pattern, whether it's negative thinking or worry, we have to do something. And so in this area, our brain is not always our best friend because our brain wants to go to the easy path, right? The negative thought, the worry, not doing anything. Oh, I'm just not going to do anything about it. And then what happens? We're just more miserable because we didn't do anything about it. So changing our mindset means that we have to convince our brain to think differently. Then we have to convince our body to do something, to take action, to say something, to go see someone, to initiate a conversation, to go start a different project, right? So really honestly, and I've done this a million times because I too will have, something that happens that takes me down a negative path or I get worried about something. We all do. It's life. That's just what happens. But the easiest way to turn this around is to make yourself appreciate something in your life. And you also have to look at the cost of like, well, what if I don't do anything about this? Is it going to repeat again? Am I going to live this over and over and over again like that movie Groundhog Day, right? Doing nothing means your situation doesn't change. But to do something, you have to look at options and you have to take action. So remaining in an addictive pattern is a really easy thing to do because it doesn't take any effort. You just keep doing the same old negative things that you're doing day in and day out, and you're miserable, right? But if you want to change, that's where you got to get your mind on board and your body on board. So again, one way to start doing this is to really force yourself to be appreciative of the small things in life. Now, this requires consistent daily effort. You have to do it every day. But what I can tell you is that you will find that when you start being appreciative, your mood starts to lift. That negative fog just starts to go away. And this lift in this mood is going to change the way that you think and change the way that you start to do things and look at life. And so it's going to bring a more positive sense of well-being. But to get there, you really do have to refuse to be negative. You have to refuse to worry. You have to refuse to stay in that place and to avoid putting yourself in negative situations or around negative people. And that can take a bit of effort. Now, it's not to say that even when you do this, you're not going to have these little bumps in the road or little things that go wrong that you're going to have to respond to. We all do, right? That's life. But if you reframe those and look at those as opportunities to learn and to think about, why do I think this is negative? What am I going to relate that back to? How am I going to change my pattern to avoid the negativity and worry? Then you're in a total win-win situation. You'll find yourself then less in a habit of going to negativity and worry. Or if you go there and be like, no, not going there. I'm going to be appreciative. I'm going to change my mindset. I'm not going to spend more than 30 seconds in that place because I don't want to be there anymore. And sometimes, honestly, it takes just some little pattern switch, right? Cranking up a really amazing song that you love to change your mood. Or maybe you go outside and get some sun on your face or feel the breeze on your skin and you're just like, oh my gosh, I so appreciate this moment, right? Because a lot of things that really make us happy and change our mood, they're small things. They don't cost a thing, but they're things that when we fall into negativity and worry, we don't appreciate. We all know that caregiving stress makes the brain tired and lazy. We don't want to think about things, so we stay in these negative patterns. Thinking and planning take work. And the older we get, the lazier our brain gets and may not want to do these things. So what happens is we do less and we find life less interesting and we're unhappy. It takes work to actually remain happy and engaged in life and have friends and do all the things that we want to do and have the life that we want to have, right? It's really easy and lazy to be miserable. Think about that. So, embracing any activity that forces us to think and to learn requires consistent effort and practice and an ongoing commitment to really take care of ourselves as a caregiver or as any person. Doing something out of the ordinary, like taking a class or attending a social activity or joining a group, gets the brain going and you start to think about all these other things, all these opportunities, all these things that you were not doing that makes life worth living again. And I know if you're a caregiver, you're saying, Pamela, I don't have time to do this. Well, if you want to change your life for the positive and change the way that you think and live the life that you want, you've got to make the time. Because doing this will open up other options for you to not have to be that caregiver who does everything. You'll find other options. You'll make other plans. You'll get your life back. But you have to start by stopping your brain from being lazy and tired, and you have to be appreciative and think differently. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website is pameladwilson.com. Thanks so much for being here. Please follow and share my YouTube channel and help other people who are out there looking for hope, help, and support. Thanks for being here. I'll see you all again soon in another video.